Welcome back to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. In this episode, the gang discusses shore leave. Speaking of shore leave, you heard that little ding. We're going on shore leave here. Speaking of shore leave, while you're taking leave, why don't you go to IABDpresents.com and check out some of our other offerings, such as the good, the bad, and the geeky. Speaking of which, Nick Arganbright's right here to talk about it.
Well, that's right. You can go to gbgpodcast.com. Well, of course, after you visit IABDpresents.com to find out all these other awesome shows that we have on there. But Good, the Bad, the Geeky features myself and usually Jimmy or Nathan and a bunch of other people as we talk all sorts of very geeky things. And occasionally we'll do live shows at Mad Lab right before It's All Been on Radio Hour where we do bits and stuff like Judge Jimmy, where Judge Jimmy rolls on high.
Also, you can go see the flagship, the It's All Been Done Radio Hour. You can check that out on the IABDpresents.com network. You can go there and listen to the original stories. It's updated. It's radio serials updated, including one called Universe Journey. Has a lot of sci-fi elements. Not really that much like Star Trek, though.
You don't say.
I could be wrong, but just go listen for yourself. And if you want to check out a live version, the next one is at Mad Lab Theater on May 13th. That's a Saturday at 5:30. And for tickets to that and to Mad Lab's 18th Annual Theater Lit Shorts Festival, just go to madlab.net and you can find the little thing that says tickets and hit on that. But now, you're going to go on your own little shore leave with the gang from It's All Been Trekked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. With the weird speech pattern that I tend to start these with. For absolutely no reason.
No reason at all.
It's not in tribute of anything?
I tried to play it off like it was in tribute to Shatner the first time I did it, but it was more just like me talking cautiously, hoping somebody else would jump in.
You're our fearful leader.
Yeah, Steven's the host of this show. He does all the intros.
I am now.
So let's go around the table and tell people who's here.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Steven.
I'm Keith.
And I'm Jimmy-Jerome.
Still.
Which still seems weird.
It's the future.
Sure. And today we're here to talk about the classic first season episode, Shore Leave.
Oh boy.
Thoughts?
This was a doozy of an episode.
I feel like I'm going to have to defend this episode.
I think there are several glaring plot holes, and yet I still want to help you defend it.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy it quite a bit.
Yeah, I think that's where I come from.
I think it's an enjoyable episode.
Oh, good. We got it.
Okay, all right. We're together.
Woo!
All right.
But there's some crazy stuff going on.
Yeah.
There it is.
Let me
Jimmy.
turn off the sound.
Sorry, that was me.
That was Keith.
I sent it to all of you, actually.
Oh.
The screensaver.
See,
Ooh.
my
Oh, I
phone
had
is
the After Dark
silent.
screensaver back in the day.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because the love theme reminded me of that. I think I might have heard it on that.
Oh.
There was a friend of mine in college, still on Facebook right now. Her name is Kate McNeese, who was a very big Star Trek fan of the original series. I wasn't really that familiar with it at the time. It's mid-90s when this screensaver came out.
Yeah, I had.
So,
this is the exact screensaver I had.
Yeah, remember those modules, and so they'd have like somebody
Yeah.
walk on like the flower or something. I
Yes.
can't remember what it was that triggered the music,
Yeah.
but that was
Oh, well, that would make sense.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Because
To
it
me.
was a flower that
Yeah.
triggered the
Oh,
music.
After Dark? I miss
Yeah.
After Dark.
Yeah.
Screensavers today suck. They used to have good screensavers. Keith, we all said our opinions generally about the
Oh,
episode.
yes.
What do you think?
It was enjoyable. I mean, I don't know if it, as usual, I'm not sure if I enjoyed it in the way that the writers would have intended at the time, but it was still
Precise.
it was still entertaining.
I believe the word is craptastic.
I think it's called camp.
Yes.
I like
You
my
enjoy
word
it in
better.
a camp way.
It's definitely there are many parts of the episode that show that it's a diversion, or not a diversion, but a very different episode. Everything's filmed outside almost.
Yeah.
Which is why this was one of like the biggest budget episodes.
Yeah,
Well-
which to me makes it that much more interesting.
Yeah.
You feel like you're on another planet, even as a kid, I was like, oh, I wonder where that is in California.
I actually wanted to see, Jim, you might be able to find this faster, if this whoever directed this episode, if they directed many more, because the direction and the way the camera was used in this episode was completely different than anything else thus far.
Yeah.
Well, it was directed by Robert Spar, who did No other episodes of Star
Okay.
Trek. He directed a bunch of other stuff. He directed a bunch of episodes of Lassie, Wild Wild West, 77 Sunset Strip, Hawaiian Eye, Cheyenne,
Okay, I guess
Wild Wild West probably also used that.
Lawman.
That
He's got a bunch
that
of
area.
westerns earlier
Yeah,
on
there's a
his
lot of.
career.
that makes sense. I mean, based on the way the camera was moving.
Mm-hmm.
But like, okay, so when they hear the gunshots and they start running through the forest field thing, I don't know, because it was just.
There was a glade that was mentioned a lot. They kept saying, "Let's meet at the glade." I'd have never found them because I don't know what the hell a glade is. So
I know what a glade is.
when they
but
said
that didn't look like
when
a
they
glade.
said meet where
an
we
air
landed,
freshener.
then I've been like, okay, I can find you. But when they kept,
Glade is an
they kept
open
saying,
space in a forest.
okay, well, all right, now I
There's
could find
usually
them.
like a pond or something there.
Not necessarily. The dictionary definition is an open space in the forest. I thought it was weird when they said it disappeared through the hedge, and I was like, that didn't look like a hedge to me. It was just...
It was a very liberal use of the word hedge.
Apparently, I've spent tons of time outside. Can you tell? I was a
You
super.
maybe you need to go to the Star
outdoorsy
Trek
child.
planet
Well,
and
yeah.
experience some shore leave.
But basically, when they're running there, the camera, it's a much wider shot than it almost ever is.
Yeah, which
Like,
I thought was so much more interesting. It was cool to see him
Yeah.
not run 3 steps, cut, 3 steps, cut, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, because normally it's a very either a close up or a very tight medium shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the fact that this was a wide shot and they used it several times was really
Mm-hmm.
interesting, and that there were even like panning of the camera,
Yeah.
which almost never happens. It's
Well, they have
always just-
space.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
those sound stages are a lot smaller than we think of them.
You can also still pan a camera there instead of just staying
Yeah, but-
stagnant and doing counter shot. But that's yeah.
Also, time period, what they were doing on television at the time.
But what I'm saying is that would make sense that this director did a lot of westerns at that time, because they would do that same style of shooting
yeah.
where the camera would pan and it would move a lot more with the action as opposed to just standing still and letting the action happen in front. Like the camera
I got you.
has its own sense of movement about it.
Interestingly, this was written by Theodore Sturgeon,
Yeah.
who wrote one other Star Trek episode of the original series,
I looked this up and I can't remember.
Amok Time,
Oh.
which was also largely set on an alien world.
Yeah.
So he
Wait,
was...
is that one we've seen yet?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
That's the...
Season 2
Bum,
opener.
bum, 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 the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Q-tip battle
Yeah.
scene.
I'm so looking forward to
That's
that
one I've seen.
because, of course, I saw the Cable Guy before I actually ever saw that scene.
So, planet, shore leave. That's what was a little bit weird to me, was they're down on this planet, they're on shore leave, weird things start happening, and instead of like, okay, we're all going to stick together and investigate this,
Right.
it was like, oh, I keep getting caught up in what's going on.
Yeah, I have a theory about that. One, there are wind chimes going all the time,
Yes.
constantly in this
Oh,
episode.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Constantly.
And at first I thought it was just my old ears and tinnitus, and I was like, nope, that's not just ringing in my ears, it's wind chimes. My theory is part of the energy field and all that is some kind of intoxication, because they act like they're drunk.
True.
That's a
Not
good
like
point.
heavily drunk, but
Right.
a good buzz going on. That's my only theory that I can come up with for why they're like. And of course, the only thing that can cut through that is Kirk's ship and his crew. Finally, he starts getting it together when he's like,
But even
All right,
then,
danger.
he still gets caught up in it.
He does.
Like, I wrote, like, kind of giddy schoolboy.
Yeah.
Because
Well.
even with Finnegan, when he's trying
he's
to
chasing
quote
him.
unquote get answers,
Yeah.
he's still
He's
just
still
like,
smiling.
I
Yeah.
get to beat this
Yeah.
guy up. Like, there's this.
yeah.
Yeah, everybody seems drunk.
So I think it's like they're almost goosing them to get them to think of these things. So it's almost like putting something in their drink.
Well,
Not
if you're going to explain it that way, then I think we also need to explain that the reason at first the communicators were allowed and then they shut them all off is because that planet probably has workaholics too, and so they're used to like, okay, we'll let them contact the ship until they just are not relaxing enough. We're just gonna
keep them.
I don't
we're
like
just
that.
gonna cut them in, because if it was
Right.
modern humans, a lot of us take our work with us on vacation and all that stuff. So maybe this planet was like, we'll let you do it. In moderation. You're working too much, talking to your ship too much. We're shutting you off.
Yeah, we didn't hear
That's
what
a good
made
idea.
them decide to do shore leave here. They just
They just
like,
thought it was
oh,
a beautiful planet they came
it
across.
looks good.
Well, they're on these really deep space missions
That's
that
true.
they don't get back
That's
to
true.
Earth or the Federation planets a lot.
New world.
And so you just kind of have to stop where you are along
That's
the
true.
way.
That's true.
That seems like that's part of the fabric of the story.
That
I
makes
don't think
sense.
that's a stretch to explain.
No.
And they are exploring new worlds.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, my other thought about that was maybe it was because they had enough. The more people that came onto the planet, the more activity was happening. Maybe it was because of more interference. With the
That could be
communications.
too.
Yeah, that's
So
what I
it was coming to like a
thought.
crescendo at that point. So
That could be, but then why they cut off the transporters and then they started them back up again? Like,
Yeah, they-
it wasn't like an even.
Why were they having to pull energy from the Enterprise to run it?
Right,
Because
to
eventually
run
they
it.
weren't, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a precautionary measure or...
Well, with the transporter, I made the comment. I thought it was bizarre that okay, we only have enough energy. We can get one more person down. Let's send the guy that's in
Right,
charge
right.
instead of like a yeoman messenger.
Yeah.
No, just that happens all the time with, the one person we need is Kirk, the captain of the ship. Like, it's the same.
I think in this
idea.
instance, Spock, because he was already fascinated by it, was like, no, that's logical, I go down, even though it wasn't. I think the human part of him was
His
like,
twisted logic.
I want to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. And
think-
the logical part of him was like, I'm the best guy to figure this out. I'm going down.
I was going to say something similar. I mean, it generally seems like Spock is the best qualified to figure these things out. Usually, anyway. So why would they send somebody
There's
else?
plenty of other episodes where the landing party makes no sense.
Well, plus Uhura was still on the bridge, so she can handle
She was
things.
probably- yes,
She's
yes, she
got-
can.
She didn't get to go down and play.
Unfortunately, I would have liked to
my
see
problem.
Uhura down there.
I'm sure you would have.
Yeah.
We had Yeoman Burrows instead. So I think
I would not have ended up in Uhura's
I-
fantasy world,
I
that's
think-
for sure. But
I think
still.
Steven and I were on that planet. We would both end up wherever McCoy was before he came and rejoined the group. And we would have no. I would not want to go rejoin the group. Like I'm having my own private vacation.
Well, that explains another thing. Is like McCoy goes down there and they fix him. What took him so long? Well, we know.
Oh, we know.
We know what took him so
We
long.
know what
Well,
took
he
him
was
so
getting
long.
fixed over and over and over.
Oh yeah, no, I don't fault that as a story problem
I
at all.
don't either.
Oh boy.
My only complaint is he gave up too early.
Yeah. Yeah, we know this Yeoman Banks thing. Lovely as she is, don't get me wrong, fantastic. But
Yeoman Burrows.
Barrows, what did I say,
Who-
Banks?
which is
Right.
ridiculous because she was flirting with Kirk and then she starts flirting with McCoy and then she gets jealous that McCoy's like already with these other women. Like
I have her
she
down
is.
as she's the female Kirk because she's crossing lines on the bridge. She's just rubbing his back right away, and he thinks it's Spock.
Yeah.
And then when they're on the planet, she's the first one to get her shirt ripped. She's like, "Nope, my time to get my shirt ripped."
Okay, and then
Twice.
her shirt ripped.
Somehow magically was the
It
other
becomes
side.
the other side and not as ripped as
That's
before.
part of the planet.
No.
All right.
No.
She decided it was better to have
You're
her
right.
on the other
You're
side.
right. When she
And she
changed
wanted
her
it to be her
clothes,
good side.
she changed her
Nice
clothes.
try.
They repaired it while it was sitting there.
Yeah, yeah.
So when she
There
went
Oh,
it
back,
is.
she didn't even think about it.
Tanya
That was my thought,
Barrows.
actually.
Yes.
Tanya Barrows. That's,
Played by Emily Banks, which made
that's
her
what I
in your
did. That's
Banks.
what I got wrong.
Okay.
That's how I flipped it. Yeah.
But seriously, my thought at the time was that they just manufactured that dress out of nowhere. They probably gave her another outfit, and then
I think that
maybe
makes
got
sense.
And
rid
then
of
Don Juan came back in a deleted
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
Well, we did see him being. She was being chased by him again as she
Yeah.
was putting it on,
That's
and then
true.
so
Yeah, so, okay, first of all, don't understand why Barrows was, like, beamed down at the same time as Kirk. Like,
they're
that
hanging
just
out.
seemed-
They're like, let's go.
That just seems
She's
ridiculous.
just one of the boys.
She's
Well,
like,
because
oh,
Kirk
Because she hangs out at the end of the. She's there at the end of the episode for the wrap
Yeah,
up.
she goes back on the bridge with the
Yeah.
rest
Right,
of them.
and all the...
And Uhura's behind them, like, I don't know what you guys are laughing
She
at.
smiles when they come in, and then she's just out of the
Yep.
joke.
Which,
Yep.
that laughter clearly is, like, parodied later on in Austin Powers.
I wondered
Oh.
about that. That's the first thing I thought of.
That is the first, but I mean, it's so clear. Yeah, when they do that, like, and they all laugh, and then it's like, then it just goes back to the one person.
That was very
laughing.
Whenever there's a big laugh in any show I direct, you will see laugh, big laugh, and then it comes down. And they stop. And sigh, and then realize they're.
Because of Star Trek.
Austin Powers.
Probably from Austin Powers or
Oh.
something, but it's definitely a staple.
Yeah, I think Austin Powers is the more memorable.
'Cause they go,
But
like,
they
8
took
times.
it from Star Trek, so
I
as
believe,
you just said.
I
So
just said that.
as you just said, so therefore you can still credit Star Trek.
Sure.
I'm just going to credit everything to Star Trek.
I know you will.
6 degrees of Star Trek.
But, okay, so back to Barrows for a second.
I can talk more about her.
I'm sure.
Before you get to that, can I jumpstart you into your probable sexist rant at some point? Because
Sure. She's
the-
a big part of it.
the first thing that I noticed, when she was down on the planet, there was just something about the implication of her fantasy was being assaulted by
Right.
this this
She likes it
on
rough,
one thing.
she
Yeah,
wanted
like
it,
this
she
is
wants it rough.
subconscious, and then it was like, maybe this is what I wanted. She had that kind of wistful
Right.
kind of.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah.
Go.
That was definitely. First of all, yeah, her
Let's just
fantasy
say
there.
Barrows needed shore leave just as bad as everybody else.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
That girl's been lonely on that ship because she's, like you said, she's flirting with everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And then as soon as they're both away, hey, I wish Don Juan was here. Take care of business. Boom.
there's a little bit of a difference though between just like ooh Don Juan and like straight up ripping your clothes
Well, yeah.
off of you.
Well,
which-
and everybody gets more than they bargained for.
that's true. That's true.
I don't know why the tiger shows up. Why was that?
Rodriguez thought about the tiger. I don't know. He seems
He brought the tiger
only-
and the airplane
Yeah,
shooting.
Rodriguez is all
What an awful
He's got the beautiful widow Angela, and all you can think about is war.
yet. She wasn't quite married.
Oh wait,
Okay, she
But
was
she
an
sure
almost-
bounced
oh you're
back
right,
quickly.
not the widow. You're right.
She sure bounced
You're right.
back real
She
quick.
was an almost widow.
Well, somebody explained to her that her fiance was not dead, but nothing. And then she went, now I'm ready to move on.
Oh my God. So we're recording this. We're recording this on what would have been DeForest Kelly's 97th birthday.
Rest in peace, Bones.
And so, I'm going to put something about that on there. And Jim's like, you mean he would have been, except he's nothing. He's dead. He's gone. And I'm just like, well, no, I'm not going to be quite that morbid.
I was trying to be dark like Addie.
Did you at least put he's dead, Jim?
No.
oh
No, I was also like
I should've
recording
come up
this,
with that an
and
hour ago.
I'll.
You can reply to her tweet with that.
There you go.
From now on, whenever we honor a dead Trek person, we have to put he's
He's
dead,
dead,
or
Jim.
she's dead.
Yeah.
Don't-
and tagging Jimmy, of course.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
He's dead at Drew Wetzel
Yeah.
TV. Nobody else would get that.
That's okay. We will all laugh.
Oh,
yeah.
where were we? You were talking about.
So yeah, so Barrows, the whole idea that her fantasy involves sexual assault of some sort is a little
Typical
odd.
woman.
Yeah, I think on the base level, even then, I think it would be, people are into Don Juan. He's this Lothario, but I think like you, if you
Yeah, why
think
wasn't he
about
just
it-
like talking to her or something?
right, if you think about it for another second, though, it's like she was asking for it. She wanted it rough. which
Right.
is a weird
And there's
thing.
also like that is a consistent
Everybody has
theme
their own
so
thing.
Well,
far.
don't get me wrong. I'm not judging. I'm not judging.
I know.
Don't get me wrong.
I know.
Don't get me wrong.
There's a consistent theme throughout this like first part of season 1 where it is like because Rand gets like attacked all the time.
Yeah, she never seems like she's asking for it.
So whoever's writing these episodes likes forceful sex. is
Except
what you're
they,
saying.
Probably.
except Rand never locks her door. But other than
Yeah.
that, she's not.
But
But neither does anybody else.
So that's
To
true
be fair.
too. Kirk, they come in. Kirk. She didn't lock her door. She was asking for it.
The Enterprise is an open door policy. There is so much sex going on that show.
Well, how else can you come in and have somebody waiting in your bed? That's you,
That's
you
right.
have
That's
to.
right.
I mean, 430 people in a confined vessel for 5 years. There's going to be a lot of hookups.
okay, and also didn't they say 500 at some point
thought
earlier
I
on?
thought we
So
were
they've
four-
lost 70
Oh,
people.
Well, they lost
They have
those
to have.
first 2 episodes.
They have to
lost
have
a lot.
actually locked quite a few
And they
people.
haven't been back to Earth to restock the crew yet.
I
They
didn't
stopped.
know
That's
that. I was like, lost a lot of crew.
It's like a pond.
This is why Angela wasn't upset about her fiance dying. That was her third fiance since they left her.
Meanwhile, Yeoman Smith,
Smith Jones.
she's like,
She's still sitting
she's
in
like,
her room.
I should be so lucky to have 3 dead ex-lovers on this ship.
She could have
She
been
died
nice
week
in
one.
this episode.
She'd take one.
She died week 1.
Oh.
So, okay, that's the other thing though about the whole idea of like the yeomans. Clearly, Barrows was supposed to be like Rand.
It
With
feels
Yeah.
like it at the top.
it feels
yeah.
like that should have been.
Probably.
Has she been
Yeah.
replaced by now? Is that what
She, yeah, we already passed her last episode.
Oh, okay, so
yeah.
there you go.
It
Yes.
probably was written for Rand and she
Yeah.
just
Yeah, the
stepped in.
last one you weren't here. That was her last.
You're right. I mean, she was a little more sultry than Rand would have played it, but the
Yeah.
part could have worked with Rand.
And I
Right.
wonder if she works in with McCoy then, or not, or if they.
But I almost wonder if because they knew they had gotten rid of Rand,
They
if
were
they
like,
rewrote
oh,
it
that
so
makes
that
sense.
it was more of a McCoy and a jealousy thing with McCoy
Yeah.
instead of
Kirk.
and Ruth and a jealousy there.
Well, the
Like,
story probably would have been that Kirk was the one killed by the Black Knight and kept that story, and then Shatner was like, I need more scenes, make McCoy die off early. I'm just saying that's a plausible
It
theory.
is. It is.
I would see more that he would be the one that is like getting these women from that he remembered from some pleasure planet. And then
Exactly.
McCoy would have been the
Exactly.
one googly eyeing somebody that he loved in college.
Exactly,
or
that's what I'm
whatever.
saying. They would have been switched roles, but
Yeah, but-
Shatner's probably like, I need the bigger part.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Ruth, played by Shirley Baum.
Yeah.
who for some reason is not Carol Marcus.
No.
So is that a character from earlier that I've forgotten?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that is who I always think of as Kirk's one that got away.
Yeah,
It's true.
With Carol Marcus later, that changes my thoughts about Ruth. It makes me think that, other than the love theme, or we'll see if it's actually the love theme or whatever, they call it Ruth's theme, but I feel like it comes back later.
I think so too.
But my thought now with Carol Marcus in there in the canon is that Ruth is connected more to Finnegan, and or that time period, and then maybe Carol came later.
So my thought, well, Carol came when he was young, but my thought I'm just having right now is maybe Carol didn't have the deep meaning to him until he learned about David.
Maybe.
Is this something that we should know already?
Not yet.
Okay.
No. This is
I
films.
just watched
This
it.
is
These are the films.
And to go with what Keith was saying, I feel like when he hits the flower, because smell is the strongest sense of memory, that's what makes him think of her. And so whatever their relationship was.
Well, and if you notice,
Well, Carol wasn't
costuming-wise-
Into Darkness, by the way. So if you've only seen the new films, Carol Marcus was a character in Into
Oh,
Darkness.
Fashion. So, going off of the flower, if you notice, like, one half of Ruth's weird 60s dress is essentially that flower that he picks up. There's, like, embroidered, or
Then-
not even
well,
embroidered,
that makes
but, like,
sense as well. then.
yeah, so, like, there's something about that dress. She looks so incredibly 60s in that dress.
Yeah.
And even, like, the earrings are a very, like, mod-style earring, and the...
Well, and the go-go dancers or whatever McCoy picks up.
Yeah, while we're on
60s.
While we're on fashion.
I liked that they had fuzzies in their belly buttons.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the matching color for
The
the.
feather showgirls?
Yes.
That's what I put them down
They were
as.
cabaret performers.
Yeah. And
That's
Rigel
just
too.
a different name for showgirls.
They were prostitutes.
Oh god.
Who'd in charge? Which is another word we won't use on this podcast.
Made me wonder that, like, did they just go to Vegas and be like, that,
Yeah.
but a little weirder? Like,
Yeah.
And that's what we want for the costume design.
Yeah,
Probably.
were they dueling belly rings in the 60s?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I appreciated that touch.
Yeah.
I knew you guys would be enjoying that. And there was no back to those
course
outfits.
Oh, yeah.
Of course
yeah.
it
was.
So it's
Just
probably adhesive
feathers
on the
on the
front.
boot.
They were pretty
Yeah.
skimpy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were very skimpy.
Oh, it's great, wasn't
Oh,
it?
and that's right. They had to cover the belly button because it was the 60s. Because, like, I Dream
Yeah.
of Jeannie, she always had to have hers covered.
Yeah, I mean,
That
they
makes
were...
sense.
So they just put a little bit of fuzz in there. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
What is that? Was that a standard?
yeah.
Like of
You just
decency
can't
or
show the
something?
belly button.
So I Dream of
Yeah.
Jeannie, you never see her belly button. It's
The
always
Gidget
covered.
I can't tell if you're
television
joking
show?
or you're saying
Oh, I'm
that they
serious.
were
Yeah.
the.
Yeah, now our
Huh.
standards were weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the Gidget television show on in the 60s. The bathing suit that she wore, it could be a bikini, but it had to cover up her belly button.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Interesting.
standards and practices super weird on television.
But apparently, these all they had to do was put a tiny bit of fluff in there and they're covered.
That's all that mattered. Didn't matter that it had no back,
No.
or that it was just covering
like
your
pasties.
boobs a little bit.
It's like pasties.
Yeah, it was. It was basically
Pasties for the belly button.
feather paste. Well, feather pasties also. But and then the other thing with the fashion was Finnegan's shiny shirt.
That's like, I think that was like cadet or something
Yeah.
because they were in the
Yeah.
academy. That's
It
their
was
cadet uniform.
super shiny though,
Yeah.
and
The
he
sparkle.
Yeah.
had the worst accent.
Really? Well,
I enjoyed
mean,
Finnegan.
yeah.
Well, and one thing I kept thinking about the whole episode with all these people showing up is because remember Kirk's like, you look just like,
Yeah.
it's all the way. So Kirk
Yeah.
remembers him.
Just like
He
that.
never really listened to him that closely, probably. So he probably remembers him with a terrible
Oh, that's
accent.
kind of
Yes.
funny.
So that would be my
Fair
thing there.
point.
So you're saying
Yeah.
the actor was doing a bad job at doing an
That's-
Irish
yeah, I think
accent,
that's
or you're
fair.
saying that it was a
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
I thought the little girl was okay. Her British accent was okay.
Oh, for
The Alice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one who's now 60
Oh
years
my
old.
god.
God damn it.
And that rabbit
Yeah.
suit. Oh my god, that rabbit suit.
Alice was played by a woman or girl at the time named Marsha Brown, who this was her only credit.
Wow.
So she,
Well, she made it a good one, I guess.
She made her impact.
Yes.
yeah,
Oh, and we got a Kirk shirt rip.
of course.
Oh, yeah. He was like, I see
Don
your
Juan.
shirt rip, Yeoman Barrows, and I match you.
Did you notice the little like black not ribbon.
Oh, his collar.
Yeah, his black collar
Yeah.
was still intact.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
just the rest
Well,
of
so was hers.
Yeah.
So was
Yeah.
Barrow's.
That makes sense. I mean, if you
It's
think about the way
more
that
stronger
these,
stuff.
yeah.
It's more stronger stuff.
More stronger stuff.
And of course, the thing I thought about also when Yeoman Barrow's uniforms all ripped up is, I always assumed they had bras under there.
No.
Not Yeoman Barrow's,
Oh, no,
which
no.
goes to my other theory that
That's the 1960s.
she's on shore leave. You're
it's
right.
the 1960s.
That's fair.
She burned her bra.
The feminism
Yeah.
for the future, they've all burned their bras. They all
Can-
wear
can
bras
you
in
do-
Star Trek.
Yeah, that's before they knew it would actually cause more back problems.
Yeah, not
Exactly.
support them. Yeah.
Amanda, can you do an amber for yay feminism?
Feminism.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking when I said it.
Yeah.
Do you notice their phaser belts
Quality.
changed to black now? They're not stand out. They don't stand out so much as they did
Oh,
when they
yeah.
were brown.
No,
Beige.
I missed that.
The what?
The phaser belts
Oh.
that they wear when they go on the away missions, they were like beige or browns. They stood out. Now they were black in this episode.
I didn't even catch them.
Well, they were less catchable now. They blend in better.
Are those the weird,
Yeah, the weird.
like,
Yeah.
sideways? Or,
Basically a gun
Patty
holster
corner.
from the Old West, but futuristic.
yeah.
So I wanted to before we get too far away from the Amanda rant section. So
Oh, I still got more. I could go.
yeah, okay. So
We need a
let's-
theme
let's
song
give
for
you
Amanda Rants.
get you onto the subject of Angela. So that whole theme about them subconsciously wanting that sort of danger, you could see it in her eyes when she was cuddling up to whatever's
Rodriguez.
got Rodriguez
Played by Perry Lopez.
with the tiger. She just kept kind of
Yeah.
looking. She looked like she was aroused by the situation. Just
Yeah.
kind of, oh my god, look at the
Well,
tiger.
wouldn't be around
Yes.
by a
So
tiger.
there were multiple fantasies going on like that, which again, this was written by a man, and this is what they're perceiving to be the
Theodore could
female.
be a girl's name. You don't know.
He's perceiving to be a woman's fantasy. But there's that and then also like there's something about like running away from the incoming planes too. And then going back to Barrows, then when she's like, I just want to be a princess. Why?
Oh, Jesus.
Blah, blah, blah. And then first of all, it was a super ugly 1960s a la Camelot princess dress. And then she says the line when Bones is like admiring her in the most awkward flirting ever. But she goes, I'm a princess to be fought for and protected. And that drove me nuts.
Yeah.
But that's
Oh.
every woman's fantasy.
Oh
That-
my god.
That made me
Just
groan
kidding.
at the time too, as I recall. It's kind of yeah.
Did you, so different, so I'm sorry if you have more to say.
Just kind of that, and then the whole Bones Barrows flirting.
Yeah.
It was incredibly just
Inappropriate? He outranks her by far. So
That's a problem.
there's some real sexual
Yeah.
harassment going on in this
There's plenty of
episode.
fraternizing on the Enterprise. We know that.
he's real awkward at flirting, but she's like eating it up, and it's totally
I thought
like
she was coming on to him though.
She
It was
was.
a little bit of
Yeah.
both.
She was. I think
Both.
she's got a thing for men in power. The way she
Oh yeah, we
was-
talked about
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Well,
but
off
it
air.
just
Yeah.
it was so like I don't know, gendered in the way that it's like, oh, I need to be protected, and then the whole thing about like, oh, I'm a handsome knight who's here that will protect you, and it'll be okay. Like, oh, that's so insipid.
Barrows has some-
just drives
some
me nuts.
fantasies.
So what we're learning here is don't flirt with Amanda that way. That's not what she wants.
No, I don't want to be a freaking princess.
So just quickly on the subject of the Doctor and his rank, I'm not really sure how that worked. I keep kind of cracking my knuckles. I don't know if that's what you're hearing.
I thought maybe it was somebody coming in.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works officially on ships. I mean, I guess I got the impression they were sort of outside of the chain of command to some extent.
No, he's got a rank. He's a
so-
lieutenant commander, isn't he?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, some kind of senior officer. But yeah, I don't know how.
If you look at the braids on their wrist, it denotes the rank.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know how the rules of fraternization work by then.
Clearly, Kirk flirts with a lot of the
plenty of it.
yeomen, so
Yeah.
they must not have too strict
they
a
flirt
rule.
with him.
Right, the massaging at the beginning.
Well, she was
Wow.
doing
That was
to
her.
him. Yeah, that was
he
all
thought, he
her.
thought it was Spock.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
So which
So-
brings us to my alternate episode. When Kirk's got the torn shirt and Spock's helping him limp away from Finnegan,
Yes.
I wanted the night
I
they
was like,
spent in the cave together.
Yeah, there are many
with
fan
Spock
fiction.
tending his wounds. And
That's Marianne's alternate episode.
oh, that's a lot of people.
There was
lot
much
of
dirty
that.
fan fiction right there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why it came about. I feel like episodes like this, they
Oh,
were
yeah.
just asking for it.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Wait, asking
And we're back to
like
Asking for it because they like the force.
That's right.
the fans were asking for it, or the characters were asking for
I
it.
felt like the characters were asking
for it because a man should at this point. Through my pen.
My alternate episode is, I mean, we have Kirk chasing Finnegan and he wants to beat the crap out of him, but I still think that plays into my drunk theory.
Don't they make out? No.
No, my alternate episode is nobody gets it over on Kirk. So whatever happened in the academy, at some point, he ruined Finnegan's career,
Dead.
whatever.
Just-
Or he got him stationed on an outpost somewhere, whatever, or
Maybe
a bad
that's why he's so
assignment.
shocked by how young he looks because
Well,
he
yeah.
aged
Well,
Finnegan
and,
by what he
yeah,
did to him.
exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. And I
He
think
looked older than 20.
That's I hope he looks like
Finnegan
that.
was
And
played by Bruce Mars.
he
Let me see
wanted
how
to get
old he
his.
was.
He wanted to be. He was like, sure, I got to do this to him, but what I really wanted to do at that time was beat.
He was
crap
in
out
his
of him.
30s, early 30s.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So my alternate episode is whatever Kirk ended up actually doing to him to screw him over, or
Well, I know there's
got
a
him.
Star Trek novel I read that deals
It
with
has-
their backstory.
okay.
Okay. See, I thought you might do an alternate thing because it's been a few episodes since we got a peek into the various like collecting and hobby
oh,
habits.
I have a note about Sulu.
Oh, okay.
We
yes.
learned Sulu. Early on, Sulu's going to go collect. He's like Egon.
He's a
He's collecting
botanist.
flora and all that.
Uh-huh.
But then we also learned another hobby of his: firearms,
Yes.
Oh my
Antique
god, that was so
guns.
antique guns,
Oh my god.
and how they are fired. Yeah.
my notes.
I was just upset that we didn't have Chekhov yet, so it could be Chekhov's gun. I'm sorry, I was just upset.
My note, as I recall, was that the gun was hiding under a rock like a pill bug or something. Just like
But did you notice that the rock had a gun-shaped hole cut out
Yeah,
the
I noticed
underside
it.
so it would fit well?
that was
Oh my god. It was like, oh, of course. Like, we've seen him play with plants. And then,
And
of course,
swords
he,
and
yeah,
guns.
and swords, and now
Yeah.
guns.
Okay, now the other great thing about that scene for me was that he was just firing with his arm just out straight, firing right off into the distance, just repeatedly.
Yeah.
Like it was
Not even
not like
aiming or
nothing.
anything.
Just
And then Kirk
What?
takes it away. Like, how was that doing anything wrong?
Well, yeah,
Doesn't he
But-
say you're trigger happy?
Yeah.
something like that.
well,
yeah.
that's the intoxication theory. I
This
think,
from
is that
Kirk.
it was kind of
With
weird.
the second
that
he
it
hears
was
the gun, grabs his phaser.
Yeah.
Without thinking
Right.
about it,
Yeah.
Mr. Talk about trigger
Right.
happy. But
Well, yeah, I mean,
again,
it's
I
just-
think Sulu was drunk, so he saw a gun. I was like, all right.
Oh, just start shooting.
Yeah.
Like,
And Kirk wasn't drunk enough
Then
yet.
Kirk puts
so
it in his
he's like-
belt or something,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's not gun safety, is it?
No. But it comes back later.
That's true.
I did like
yeah.
Sulu's explanation of what a gun was.
Oh, that was.
Oh yeah,
An
yeah.
old policeman?
No, not that where he's
The-
like,
the
it's
si-
like
the
he's
science
like
behind it.
bits of lead,
Yeah.
like fired on jets of air from a chemical reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was good.
Because, like, they wouldn't know what a gun is.
Late in the episode, when Kirk and Spock are running to have their rendezvous in the alternate universe,
In the cave, yeah.
they run
Sexy.
past the samurai,
Yes.
and then the planes come.
And the tiger.
So does that
Yeah.
mean like down in the factory, the fantasy factory below, they're like, I'm getting overworked. I got all this going on. I can't keep track of what's
no,
going
that's
on.
when McCoy was fucking the women and they all came around to
Is that
watch.
okay? All right.
What was going on?
Yeah, well, that would make sense.
All right, that makes sense. I can buy that.
So adding to the whole Spock Kirk like subplot
Yeah.
going on, Spock and Kirk when they're still on the ship.
Oh, the flirting scene at the beginning.
Yeah, the
that was-
flirting scene
That was cool.
where Spock like quote unquote tricks Kirk into going and getting rest, and he's all like, "Oh, I'm reading this medical report, and this crewman is so naughty. He's not listening to the doctor at all." I mean, that's essentially what it is. It's like, oh, he's doing this.
I didn't even think about that, but that's awesome.
And Kirk is like, oh, those numbers are horrible.
That's
And then-
unsafe.
Oh, yeah, not.
I always thought the Kirk Spock / fiction was stupid until this episode, and now I totally get it.
You're the one that started
Totally,
it.
I know, but I
it
get
is.
it now.
And then Spock's also like going like, oh, I don't need to go waste energy by running on grass. That's silly. Like it's just this whole
It was
It's like,
very flirty.
naughty,
It was
naughty
very
Kirk.
flirty. Yeah.
You
I
better
didn't even
get
caught
down
that.
there.
Wow.
Banter.
Spock should have like put his hands in the Vulcan salute and then like stick one.
Oh,
Okay, that went too far for me.
to completely change the subject. I like to point out the milestones that I reach in these things, like the things I've. Oh, here's these references I didn't get to see. So this is the first appearance for me, or probably at all, of Ruth's theme. There was also think it's the first time they did like a fight scene like next to rocks and boulders like that in the slope, isn't it? Because that feels like something that's
before.
Yeah.
But that was like on a stage.
That's true.
This was
Yeah,
actual.
true, actual on
real.
location.
Yeah, on location.
But not on location on another planet.
So we should talk
So-
about the stunts in that scene.
Oh, the stunt.
Yeah, go ahead and
Oh,
finish your
yeah.
thing, and then
No,
we'll
that was. I mean, so you're saying that there. I can't remember. Have there been fight scenes like that yet so far with Kirk, like next to boulders on like a dirt slope, fighting something and doing the axe handles and so forth? And,
Yeah.
Yeah, where
He
No Man has
said-
gone before.
before.
Kind of a
Okay.
fight like that, and there's boulders, and the boulder falls on Gary Marshall.
And there's terrible stuntmen.
or Gary Mitchell.
Jimmy.
Hilarious.
It's on a sound stage, so
Right.
it isn't exactly the same. It looks a lot more fake because it's fake boulders and fake outdoors.
Yeah. So those stunt doubles for Kirk and Finnegan were so freaking obvious. But as I'm like realizing how obvious it is, which shots are real and which aren't, I always used to hear people complain about that. I never really noticed, and now we're watching it on crystal clear 55-inch,
Yeah,
fully
yeah.
restored HD television. And I'm thinking the people that are watching this are watching on grainy 19-inch pictures. So the stunt doubles would have been perfectly acceptable in that regard.
I can assure you, the 12-inch black and white I watched
Yeah.
this on many a time. You couldn't really
still tell?
You couldn't really tell.
Couldn't tell. Yes,
There
that's
was
insane.
one shot though where you could see the stunt double's face.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if it's a grainy image,
Yeah.
it's close enough.
On a 12-inch black and white screen.
I think you're
you would
forgetting
not-
how bad televisions were 50
It was
years
still
ago.
far enough away
Yeah.
that me sitting there,
Or in my
I couldn't really
childhood.
see his face. I almost wanted
This
to
was
pause
way
it.
before your childhood.
I almost wanted to
Those
pause
were
it and go up
TVs
to the.
Us too.
Yeah, you could fit our giant color TV and my little black and white
Yeah.
inside half of this screen.
Yeah. And most of it, most viewers that when this aired had black and white.
Yeah.
Color was still
Yeah.
fairly new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because our big screen was like a 28-inch. That was our big screen.
Oh my god, you had a 28-inch?
Yeah,
I don't think we had
28-inch.
anything that
Yeah.
big when I was little.
Yeah.
We had one of those
My-
little black and white.
My
on top
grandfather
of the
worked for
Yep.
That was it. Just
Zenith.
nothing else.
So he gave us one of his hand-me-downs. And we're like,
Nice.
"Oh, that's amazing.
We had one of those cabinet TVs where the TV's built into the cabinet, sits on the floor.
Oh,
Oh.
fancy.
No, well, yeah. Nowadays it seems awful, but
Yeah.
at the time we're like,
Yeah.
this is a great
Oh, yeah.
television.
Oh, yeah.
It lasted a long time too. Another thing struck me about this episode is I feel like if these were modern people and they were at this planet, it would be a lot of pop culture and current event references.
Uh-huh.
And in this one, all the references were for hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
I was excited that people in that century are still reading the old stuff.
They are, but they don't have any new stuff either. Like, I feel like you need to mix it.
It's all
in.
crap.
Now I feel like I need to write a Universe Journey episode on this
Where they have-
everything is pop culture references for their time, so nobody
Yes.
gets it
Yeah.
when we're watching
Yeah.
it.
That would
Yeah.
be brilliant,
That
actually.
that would be funny because it's.
Or-
I mean, part of it is it's not even necessarily 1960s culture.
No, it's
Right.
well before that.
It's like early 20th
I
century
mean,
or
anytime
Yeah,
they
it's
do
like
cultural
classic tropes,
references
yeah.
in this, it's like Shakespeare, it's
Yeah.
Alice in Wonderland, it's
Yeah.
medieval stuff.
But is that to create a timeless feel to it?
That could be it.
It could be, but I also think in the 60s people still paid more attention to that stuff than I feel like
Right.
we're doing at the moment.
I really don't know if there would be anything. I don't think.
Or 24-hour news networks and streaming services.
I can't. I can't say for certain what it was like then, but I don't feel like there.
You don't remember?
No, I wasn't quite alive yet. I don't. I don't think that they. I don't think there was the same type of pop culture phenomenon
So,
yet.
You know, at that time, without the internet and without that, the cultural zeitgeist we have today and the social media and everybody sharing everything, they did have to rely on the classics more for references that everybody would get.
Especially if
They didn't
they're
have
for
the-
specifics. I mean,
Right.
some of the
Oh, yeah.
generic ones they get into is Chekhov's bad hair.
Yes.
And then actually, well, this will be in our next episode, for I'll save it for that part of it. But they have the hippies in one of the episodes in season 3. So the love, whatever.
Yeah.
So some of the stuff's in there, but it's not. They don't reference the Beatles or any of that kind of stuff. It's
But it was
direct.
different back then.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
I feel
absolutely.
like now if this were to occur, it would be
But
a
I
constant modern reference.
Justin Bieber references and so forth.
Yeah.
but I
Something
feel
like
like
that.
part of it too is in general they're trying to create a bit of more of like a timeless, like, yes, this is in the future.
Things that will last.
Yeah, what are the things that are
Yeah.
going to last?
Yeah.
Because I mean,
But I think you should still should have had like this reference is from a 21st century thing
Absolutely,
everybody
I
knows.
agree.
This is from a 22nd century. You know, like that's For instance, in the very first episode of Universe Journey, or not first episode, the episode with Sam was in where we were naming Clints, and I was like Clint Eastwood, and I was like, let's toss in a Clint that's sometime in their future or their past, but our future, because I feel like too often these sci-fi shows, when they reference the past, they have to reference past from here. They don't reference what happens in between the two. Mm-hmm. Deep Space Nine did a good job of starting to fill in some of their cultural touchstones between modern day and Deep Space Nine, but most of the Star Trek shows ignore that in between, and they just go back from what's already existing. And tell me, I mean, is Alice in Wonderland still going to be read in 400 years?
Yeah.
Quite possibly.
Probably.
But, you know, there are certain other things that would not last. They picked the right thing. Shakespeare, Alice.
Yeah.
It seems curious that that he would have that so ready at hand in his mind, as opposed to many other things that he might have grown up with. But who knows?
Well, also,
There'll still be princesses too.
Princess stories.
that didn't look like Alice in Wonderland, though.
Really?
Like, to me, where they were, that didn't look like...
Oh, well, yeah, you're
Well,
right.
you're looking at
To
it through
McCoy,
a
though,
2017 frame of
I guess.
reference.
To McCoy it did.
In 23 whatever, that is what they picture.
Yeah.
I was also going to say
Sure.
from you reminded me of something from the beginning when we were talking about that, like the hedges and so forth. I mean, in practical terms, they probably had a script before they had the set. Perhaps it was just like
That's
they just
fair.
wrote all these things and we'll
True.
just like have this location. You guys, the directions,
Right.
go through that thing there
Well,
to
and
indicate this.
does the rabbit in Alice in Wonderland specifically go through a hedge?
A hole he mentioned, which we didn't see
Might be,
either.
yeah.
Yeah.
A hole in the hedge.
Hole in the hedge. Now, Amanda, as a classic film fan, did you recognize Perry Lopez, who played Rodriguez?
He looked familiar.
He is most famous for
Oh, yeah.
starring in a little movie called Chinatown, where he played Escobar.
And its sequel.
Oh, yeah.
He was in the
that
Two
makes
Jakes
sense.
as well.
Well, I was just impressed in general that they had a Hispanic character.
Ah, they've had
I
other
mean,
Hispanic
I know, but
lieutenants or whatever.
but this, I don't know. They said both his first name and last name
Yeah.
a couple of times.
They're
Yeah,
very
he did look
diverse crew.
familiar. Yeah, he's the...
Though I feel like of all the diversity, different cultures they hit on, African American, Asian American, Hispanic, the one they hit most often is Irish, because that is such an
God.
exotic.
Super exotic.
I mean, between Finnegan and Riley, and you know, we got to keep hitting those Irish.
Yeah.
And then
And Scotty.
having the...
Well,
Yeah.
Scotty actually.
I know. I'm kidding. Well,
No, Scotty doesn't have an accent. He was a master of accents. They're like, try different accents and we'll decide what the nationality of the engineer is. That's how his audition was.
what really? Oh,
Yeah, he doesn't have an
That's
accent in
funny.
real life. Or he didn't. Now he's nothing.
Right.
But-
He's
I was making a university joke. Yeah.
Now he's
Scottish Irish.
Yes, that's what I was doing, yeah.
R.I.M.
Scotsman that likes his Irish. Or Irishman that likes his scotch.
Oh,
Rest in
man.
nothing.
Okay, so here's my question, because looking at it as a larger Star Trek, you know, throughout more than just the original series, first of all, this fantasy world reminded me of like a giant holodeck.
Yeah.
Like totally.
They didn't have holodecks
Yeah.
in the original series.
Well,
Keith said it as
I
soon as the
made a
episode
joke.
started.
Yeah.
He's like, that's a really good
To me,
holodeck.
it
Oh, okay,
it
yeah.
echoed, and I think predated. I don't know all that, but the Cage obviously it's similar in the sense
Yes.
of it's coming from your mind, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Westworld came out not long after this. Now I don't know if the original book was written before this, but
There was no. The book was actually there was no original book. He wrote the book based on the screenplay.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that came
Yeah,
out.
Westworld
That
came
came
out
out like
later.
5-6 years later, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
a very similar. Oh, there's a playland and things
Yeah.
go wrong, but they don't get solved by some.
Yeah.
But
Deus
Westworld's a lot
Machina.
more dangerous.
I mean,
Yes, that's right. Yeah, nobody comes in to save it.
Michael Crichton probably watched this episode and go and went.
And then-
how can we make
Which
this?
what makes
I-
it?
Well, yeah,
which,
I mean, he had to have been a Star
right,
Trek fan.
yeah,
Probably.
Which another TV show which goes this
Michael
way
Crichton's nothing, no.
is Fantasy Island, which was the same kind of thing. You went to Fantasy Island, you had a fantasy, and it always went the wrong way, but by the end it turned out okay. It was always on after the Love Boat, Saturday nights, ABC.
So Fantasy
Uh,
Island copied this episode too.
Yeah, this whole series was this episode, and Fantasy Island started off more like Westworld, and it was Mr. Rourke was the star character, and it was
Yeah.
like, oh, you'd go there, you get your fantasies, and they'd go the wrong way, and bad things would happen. But then they were like, ABC must have been like, this is really working. We're pairing you with the Love Boat. Let's make this turn out okay. Because then after that, it was always like, oh no, it took a bad turn, but it turned out okay. So that's what I was thinking about.
So I think
which I
this
didn't
episode.
think about then.
I think that
Just like I meant all the time.
that might indicate that this episode was more important than we would view it now when we're laughing at
I
how
think
campy
so.
it is because it
Yeah.
had.
But here's my other thing that could be a larger connotation for this. I mean, the franchise as a whole is Kirk asks the caretaker of
Yes.
this fantasy world.
His name
like,
is Caretaker, played
Rourke.
by Oliver McGowan.
Okay, so I got
Which
the
would be
right
Mr.
term.
Rourke, yes,
Caretaker.
exactly.
So
which Voyager we used later in there.
But they, Kirk's like, oh, well, you're not human. What kind of being or, are you? And he's like, oh, it would be too complicated for
Yeah.
you right now. So is
And
he
Spock
Q?
says-
Like,
No,
is he the same?
That occurred to me too, actually.
I wouldn't think so. There's a character that comes closer to Q in the original series that we'll get to shortly.
And
Well,
the caretaker's,
yeah.
is he the only one there?
Yeah, but he talked about his race would use that
Yeah,
planet.
Okay.
right. So
Because I figured they and the Telosians went to
Because
meetings
it
together.
definitely felt like they were actually manufacturing stuff, like
That was-
there was machinery underground, whereas
Oh,
Q
yeah.
would have
Yeah.
been out of thin air.
I was about to say
okay,
that
that's
was
true.
the other distinction. That they wouldn't need to have like a cellular thing to do this.
Right.
It's a completely different kind of
Maybe
dimension.
And-
they're related to Q's race in the same way that
Monkeys and humans.
no, that that Vulcans and Romulans are.
That, I don't think so. I think they're more monkeys
Yeah.
versus humans.
Okay.
Because Q's way more advanced than what these are, and the Vulcans and Romulans, who are similarly advanced, just went different branches of what they were focused on.
Now, has he always been the caretaker there?
I don't know.
Is that a Shining reference?
That is. Thank you, Keith. Thank you for going with me.
Oh!
Thank you.
We needed a portrait on the wall from 1942, and it's him. The New Year's Eve party. I got it. Oh, okay, thank you.
I've never
Yeah.
seen it.
So the,
Oh,
also,
that's
so
right.
good.
I forgot. That's
yeah,
right.
so
me
good.
and the horror.
I don't like
That's
horror
right.
either. It's really good.
Yeah.
also the Q continuum thing seems to be like from a different dimension, a complete different concept of time and space. They wouldn't need a physical location like that unless they were putting on a front for the purpose of the humans to introduce themselves. So
Sure.
it could be that. Like we'll come up with this weird looking mechanical science thing to make it seem like we're not doing magic or whatever. And
Well,
so-
and my question at the end of the episode is, he's like, "It's your kind can come here, blah, blah, blah." How secret do they keep it? Because you don't want to just let anybody go there.
yeah.
See, I
get it, man.
assume they probably are advertising, but they're advertising the other direction from where the Enterprise has been coming from. It's just the off season.
Okay,
So they're a little
is that it?
slow.
Oh, so like-
Or it's
No,
a giant planet where they beamed down just wasn't where it was. Well, no, they talked about scanning. Never mind. But
I guess if they're that advanced, they can handle the crowds.
or maybe it just kind of its time came and went. It's not so popular anymore. People don't come that often, and they don't have money because they're advanced. They don't worry about a profit. Caretaker's just like, I'm cool. I'll stay here. I'll just stay here in case anybody wants to come back, guys. If you want to come back
He's
here.
the one that gets to have sex with all the showgirls.
Exactly.
He's gone.
Oh, that's good.
That's
Because
Well-
of course he likes showgirls, whatever he is.
Yeah, what would the
Yeah.
caretaker's fantasy be? Hard to say. If your fantasy, every fantasy you have can be met,
You'd
what's your
probably get
fantasy?
would you get tired after a while?
Probably.
Eventually.
I can't.
Not if I was a
imagine such
caretaker.
time.
Not if I was that advanced.
Yeah. Any other notes before we go into the rankings and wrap
I
this
have
up?
two actually.
Okay.
All right, so one was from the beginning of the episode, which I thought was kind of funny. It was, I wrote, "It appears that Kirk is mentally composing a log instead of listening to the yeoman who was just yapping away at him soundlessly." So, yeah, it was just, yeah, they just had her kind of like,
Amanda wants to
No,
and he was just like, I'm thinking about all these other things right now.
He's the
the
captain. he has to
voiceover, and she's just like,
Yeah. Women.
so yeah, that's kind of a. The other thing,
Oh,
do
okay.
you want to expand on
Just
that?
one thing real fast, going back to the whole Kirk and Barrow's thing, is when
I'm
she's
happy to go back to
upset-
Yeoman Barrows.
Oh, we
When
can
she's
go back.
upset that Bones
We're
has
going
quote
back. We're
unquote
going back
died, or that Bones has quote unquote died, and she's crying. And one of my biggest pet peeves ever is when a male character just grabs a woman character and kind of shakes her as though that will somehow calm everything and make it okay.
It works for babies.
Because
Why wouldn't it work for women?
because manhandling is always what we need.
Hey,
It's the cure for hysteria.
when you said that,
No, that's called a vibrator.
It's the shaking. That's
maybe they can use that when they
He's trying to.
She's trying to vibrate her really fast.
When they remake Airplane, one of the people in line will have a vibrator.
There was a deleted scene where Angela pulls aside Gilbert Barrows and like, look, there's plenty of other guys in the crew. Just get over it.
Come on.
I've already lost
Dime a
3
dozen.
fiancés.
Dime a dozen.
I'm working in on Rodriguez right now.
You don't want to end up like Yeoman Smith.
She's the old cat lady on the Enterprise now.
She is. At 24.
She never got to go on shore leave. I'm telling you, she's still just in her little
Yeah.
cabin. Like, man.
Yeah. Oh, that which gets me to one of my notes. That roll call they're doing.
Yeah.
I couldn't pick up any of the names, but I'm curious what names they threw in there. And they never got to Yeoman Smith. I guarantee.
No, they didn't.
She's
We would have noticed.
yeah.
When was the roll call?
It's when Kirk's talking to Spock, and they start announcing who's going to go down the planet, the different teams and everything. And they kept it running through. Then the background went all to wind chimes once again.
There was so much wind chimes.
Lots
I
of
mean, it was just like
That's what gets them intoxicated.
non-stop.
That's
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 like
part
it's
of
an
my-
oral
Yes,
intoxication.
Yes.
Okay. That would be interesting if you could
Yeah.
listen to something and then you were just like, I'm drunk. It's like in Sleeper. when
Somebody's
they touch
working
the
on it right
giant
now.
ball.
Yeah, the Orgasmatron.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's do that.
Sorry.
All right, so the last thing was kind of touching on something you guys mentioned before, the idea of Kirk going after Finnegan instead of Ruth for, at the end.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was...
Because Kirk's gay, clearly.
Yeah, we.
I mean, he already had the magical night with Spock.
It's the subconscious thing about human nature and probably the nature of Kirk himself. He probably felt like he needed to be doing something physical to solve the problem. He had to go out and he has to fight something to get the answers. You can't just think it through.
Right.
It's just be like,
Because I said-
I have to beat it out of him. Yeah.
No, that's true. Because I was like, why didn't he just think of Ruth to get the answers instead of fighting?
That's the way he's used to dealing with
Women don't know
things. So
anything. So
Kirk knew that if he was with Ruth, the last thing he was going to be thinking about was Drew. He might be married to the Enterprise. He's not that married to the Enterprise.
Oh no, because then when he comes back, it's
he
like,
hadn't seen her.
we are well rested.
I mean, trust me, he hadn't seen her in 15 years, but after 15 minutes with her, then he'd be ready to move on. But since he hadn't seen her in 15 years...
I think he's got more stamina than 15 minutes.
Nah, probably
Well,
not.
But he doesn't have the attention
with
span.
most women, but not with Ruth, who he hasn't seen in 15 years. So he's been...
I think my last comment was about the Black Knight. Well, how come all the other people looked authentic and real, and the Black Knight looked like a dummy?
Well, it didn't need... It was behind
he
the
got
armor.
shot.
Oh, that too.
But if they killed Finnegan, would he revert to dummy
We
status?
don't know.
Yeah,
They should have shot
I
him.
think so.
With the wax.
Why didn't Kirk
Yeah.
just shoot him?
Yeah.
Like, wing him. Torture him.
Well, that was the
He
other...
was
working. I don't know.
fulfilling his manly
Yes,
He
there you
just
go.
wanted to beat the...
of beating the crap
He could
out
have
of him.
pistol whipped him, though.
Also,
pistol whipping, that would be fun.
subconsciously, he was probably
Now we're
thinking to
advocating
himself,
torture.
I'm sorry.
Finnegan would be blind.
Water aboard. Water.
Finnegan was the figure that would be to blame for what was happening as well, so
Right.
he must be responsible. I'll go and, this is the villain character.
Right.
My last note was I did like Kirk got my favorite of his moves, the two-fisted to the back.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
my favorite move of all his moves.
It's fun.
Chops, axe handles, and then elbow drop.
Yeah. Elbow drop, that's what it is. Both of them.
So, opposite sex of Star Trek. Steven, has somebody not
Oh, Yeoman Barrows. She's definitely...
Barrows?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not surprising.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think so.
The
either.
second I started my research, I was like, this is happening.
Oh, me?
Yes.
I'm picking Rodriguez.
Of course you
Because
are.
he's
You like
in,
that Latino flair.
He is in Chinatown. He is in McClintock. He is in Rebel Without a Cause.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
And I'm gonna
Harry
pick
Lopez.
the yellow feathered showgirl.
Oh.
I like that is how you wrote it down.
Yes. I liked her very
You
much.
finally moved off of Mystery Yeoman.
Oh, she was only 2 episodes.
Hey, I got rid of Pike pretty quickly, but Pike's like disfigured now, so I gotta
Yeah.
go for Rodriguez.
You would leave a man after he gets injured, saving others' lives.
He's with,
Yeah,
with
no,
what's her face?
whatever, Amanda.
Vina.
Vina.
Whatever,
yeah.
Amanda. Where do we rank this episode?
Oh.
Should we start in the middle?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the middle.
Is it better or worse than the man trap?
Was it different than the man trap?
Yeah. Well,
I'm
that's
kidding.
the episode that actually went out yesterday
Yeah.
from when we're recording. I think it's more fun
I do too.
Yeah.
than the man trap.
I would put it above the
Yeah.
man trap.
Yeah. I would say, along with sort of like the intoxication theme, it's
Yeah.
around the area of like the naked time.
Mm-hmm. Well, Naked Time is 2 above the man trap. In between them, we have the Corbomite maneuver ranked.
Which one was that one?
What's that? What's
The
next?
Corbomite maneuver.
Was that with the ball that kept receding?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, with
Clint Howard.
Clint
yeah,
Howard,
Clint
yeah.
Howard.
Oh God, is that what?
I am Clint.
Is that why their name is Clint? Oh my
Yeah.
God, I forgot that. That's great. Clint is actually here too.
Whoa!
Clinta.
What's a two?
Yeah, that was an
Man.
intentional reference.
I think I would put this above the Carbomite maneuver. What about you, Steven?
I probably would.
It's just fun. Like
Carbomite maneuver. Thinking back to the series is one of my favorite episodes, but when we rewatched it, I did not think as highly of it as what I remembered. So I would rank it, having just watched this, above
so
Carbomite.
then I think the question is, do we put it
Above or below Naked Time?
the Naked Time?
It's gonna be below Conscious of the King, I think. Below Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for me.
So above or below Naked Time?
I mean,
I'm gonna go below.
yeah.
Interesting.
Because shirtless Sulu. I mean, that's not the only reason. But I think they both have, like, kind of similar themes going on.
Sure. And Naked Time had fewer plot holes.
Yeah.
So I would agree with that. I think that's a good place to put it.
Yeah.
So, when we return next week, we will be discussing the episode The Galileo 7, which, I think that's going to come up really quick. It's going to feel like no more than an hour from now for us.
Oh, and I
Yeah.
have a feeling we might have some new guests with us next
Impossible.
You might? I doubt it.
Maybe
Just a
not.
hunch. It's
Maybe
a hunch.
not?
I mean,
The people that walked in while we were recording this,
what? No, there's no one else sitting at this table. What are you talking about?
looking at us like we're idiots because they're not familiar with what we're doing.
I will blow you up.
Yay!
They might just be looking
That was
at us because
nobody.
we sound like idiots.
Well, that's normal.
Yeah.
That's our usual
Or
state.
for the course.
Okay, so join us next week. We'll talk the Galileo 7, which I've already told Amanda has almost no Spock in it whatsoever.
Oh no, there's a lot of smoke. I'm not looking at it.
Have a good week.
No Kirk, no Doctor, just. Oh, have a good week. Sorry.